Hi, my name is Arnie Lopez, and I am the Chief Customer Officer at New Relic. I'm super excited to be here with Bleuenn Le Goffic, VP Business Transformation at Accedo. Bleuenn, nice to meet you. So happy that you're joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. I'm really happy to be here and being part of these blueprint interviews that you're making to talk about a very important topic for my industry, at least, which is observability. So really looking forward to our exchange.
Yeah, me as well. So rather than me, obviously I know a lot about Accedo through the partnership and a lot of the work that you've done with my team, but I think you probably would do a better job of describing what Accedo does, maybe some of the clients that you've worked with, which is quite impressive, and then we'll take it from there.
Yeah, of course. Happy to do so. So Accedo is a video solution provider. We are a Swedish company born out of Stockholm, where I'm currently based. Throughout the 20 years, we've built OTT streaming platforms for media, operator, and sports organization throughout the globe. It can be for greenfield streaming companies to very, very large streaming media companies like Paramount Plus, for example, which is a joint customer of New Relic and Accedo. So we're about 600 people across the globe with our two Swedish founders who are still driving the company. So throughout the 20 years, we have actually opened 16 offices, more, but some moved around. So today we are with 16 offices in North America, in Latam, in Europe, and in Asia Pacific. But our headquarters is still in Stockholm, Sweden. So that's a bit about us and who do we work with.
Yeah, that's fantastic, Bleuenn. Thank you so much for that background. And I think it makes a huge difference when the founders are still very involved in the company. Interesting with Accedo, the business that you're in, what I found over my career is technology is great, but if you don't marry technology with some services around it, you just don't get the same level of success, right? And I think that's what Accedo does extremely well, and that's why you've had some of these marquee clients that you've mentioned, which is great, and we're excited about the partnership. So a little bit more about yourself, Bleuenn. As I was looking up some of your background, very impressive. But maybe give me a little bit of your perspective. Don't give me the whole resume, but give me, how you ended up in your current role as the VP of Business Transformation at Accedo.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna bore you with details. I think
It wouldn't be boring.
so.
It would be exciting, but we probably run out of time.
Yeah, exactly, maybe. No, so actually pretty straightforward, almost. Joined the company in 2012. Actually, at that time, I think it sort of this is the moment where Netflix went global. So for our industry, there was this big movement around streaming becoming such a new thing, right? I had moved to Sweden. I have a software engineering background. Joined Accedo in the commercial team and rapidly looked at what was so specific and what was so complex about the streaming platforms themselves. And what you realize, I've worked in GIS before and so on, and in quite advanced software. I think the characteristic for the last 20 years of this industry is that there is such a fragmentation of technology in the value chain that it makes every streaming platform quite unique and challenging in terms of operational aspect. I think this is how I started with Accedo, realizing that yes, of course, developing an interface is not very complex. Yes, of course, integrating with an API is not very complex. But what you realize is that because you have just this unicity every time that you power a new streaming platform, you end up by being able to manage a complete new set of potentially hundreds of vendors. So if you look at the value chain of a media company, it's humongous in terms of technology, right? From the content production to the distribution and its monetization. So this is how I actually developed in Accedo, very quickly realizing that one of the key value proposition we need to bring to the market was through partnerships. There is a famous picture that's called the digital landscape, and it's actually a German system integrator that have fun mapping the technology vendors in the media industry every year, right? So they have this massive map of logo. And what you realize very quickly is that this is the complexity. And then we realized that even the industry was evolving from being not just technology centric, but more sort of value driven centric. And then we realized that partnership needed to evolve as well. So instead of being just looking at what is the best combination of two technologies, it was looking at how do we simplify, how do we become more close to the business, to our customers, and so on. And most recently, we have a new strategy that we have started on for the last 18 months with Accedo. And I was offered the opportunity to lead the business transformation with the overall organization to implement this new strategy, which is to become a business partner to our media customers, not just an expert, not just a solution provider, but actually becoming a business partner. So yeah, today I lead a team of great experts in different areas, whatever is in offering management or in software. We're building our own stacks and integrated with partners such as yourself, and also the operational world, right? So how do we make sure that everything we're building is actually capable of living out there and being constantly evolved? So that's my remit today.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Congratulations on that new charter, the new role for you. It seems very exciting, Bleuenn. And I, as you think about this media video streaming, it is a very unforgiving customer and audience, right? Because I know just from if my wife is watching a movie and it buffers or skips, she's not happy. Or when I'm watching my sports, I also am not happy if there's buffering or if there's any quality issues. And it's very easy to switch to different providers. To your point, it may seem easy, but I know that it is not. And we also value partnerships quite a bit here at New Relic. We don't want to be the expert at everything. We want to be really good at what we do, which is full stack observability. And then we want to partner with others that are experts in their field, just like Accedo. Speaking of the partnerships, can you talk a little bit about why New Relic and why that relationship came to be, and why you chose us to be your partner for observability?
Yeah, definitely. So I mentioned briefly that we were looking at the partnership strategy and wondering about, okay, what is a valuable partnership? So everyone was trying to be able to work with everyone and having this agnosticity. But what we realized is that that doesn't really bring a value. Maybe short term, yes, when product owner thinks that he should have this technology over this technology and so on, and that you can work with everyone. Okay, yes, that's good. But from a business value standpoint, it's not good enough, I would say. And after 20 years in the industry, what we realized is that we wanted to have a voice, exactly as you said, right, on what we're good at, right, what we know how to do it. We want to grow our voice, but we know that our voice only solves a part of the challenge. So in order for us to actually bring the value, we needed other voices alongside ours to actually complement what we wanted to express, right? So two things when we're looking at strategic partners and how we found New Relic was really these industry leading vendors who are best at what they do, and they recognize and have a voice and care for the customer's business. So having this customer centricity in common was very important to us. And the second part is obviously having this complementarity where we felt that there's no business partnership without having rocket solid operational setup. And without observability, there's nothing in operation that will work. I'm not trying to send you flowers, but eventually there is no streaming service out there that can dare to claim that they can go live and promise a service to their end consumers and not monitor the health of the service. I think it's another aspect of why we chose New Relic is that very quickly the people that are working, at least that we interacted with, we're humble about, of course, the application in certain industry, the use cases. I love the way that one of your team member, Chris McCarthy, where he put together this. So I've been looking at what our media customers have done, and this is, the realm of the possible. And I was amazed and blown out by, first of all, we had a lot of customers in common. That wasn't a surprise. We knew that, and this is why we got in touch. But also because the deep knowledge of how actually observability drives business value and how could you capture that in very limited amount of time within your organization from your customer means that you knew already internally you were evaluating yourself and your success based on what is actually the business impact that you have created. And I think this value driven, this outcome driven mindset is what we're looking for when we are doing those strategic partnerships. So we have a strategic partnership with only very few companies, and New Relic is one of them.
Yeah, well, thank you, Bleuenn. I appreciate that, and we appreciate the partnership, of course. And Chris McCarthy. Every time I meet with him, I learn something new about media and video. He is quite the expert. So I'm glad that you had a good experience working with him as well. So to maybe double click on how you're using New Relic, if you don't mind, Bleuenn. So what are the specific applications that you are monitoring with New Relic? And I think it'll be interesting for our audience to understand that, because you talked about customer value, and for what we do, what I tell my team is we have to be showing value to our customers and our partners every single day that we work with you, right? To earn that business, to earn that partnership. So that means that we have to help you be successful with your customers, because that's what typically that's what your priority is, right? How do you make sure you differentiate from your competitors in the space? How do you keep your customers happy? So I want to make sure my customers and my partners' customers are getting a great experience. So can you share a little bit about what some of the specific applications from Accedo you are monitoring with New Relic?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I mentioned Paramount Plus is one of the probably most known service that we have in common, but we have several others, right? From leading broadcasting services across the globe to smaller services. We currently, for example, are monitoring together a Turkish streaming service. This is one of the latest launch that we've done in November last year together with New Relic. And this specific launch is interesting because this is the first time that Accedo is really taking the angle of a managed service provider. So I mentioned that since 18 months, we've been looking at how will we implement to become a business partner, what kind of technology and services will we want to push. And the managed service value proposition was very much the implementation, the articulation of the vision. And these Turkish customers that we have in common is the first example of that, where Accedo takes full ownership of the overall OTT platform to be distributing entertainment and sports content together. And to go a bit more into the details of how do we actually leverage New Relic. So we have been leveraging New Relic actually as a monitoring tool for a lot of our video application out there, but we were really limiting ourselves to certain performance-related application client-side performance-related KPIs. And about 18 months ago, we started to look into, okay, not only we want to make sure that New Relic is helping us understanding how performing our apps, but we want to start looking at commonalities between patterns, right, between our different customer deployments. Because what's important in our realm is that we have unicity of each, a Paramount Plus will not be the same thing as a Netflix, right? But eventually, it's all about entertainment content, behavior of an audience, reaction to buffering, etc., to technical problems, but also not just technical problems. It's actually about potentially how will you help the customer care service of your customers when there is an issue. It's not just about an SLA or making sure that the KPIs are the platform is healthy and the KPIs are reached, right? It can be to the very granular detail for a user to the overarching for Accedo with hundreds of services out there that we power. What are the commonalities? What are the patterns? Can we evaluate our software against their performance? How do we define our own optimization strategy? So I think there was this feeling that we needed to have a consolidated platform for Accedo's sake. And then as we were growing a bit selfishly and thinking, okay, so this is what we're going to do for Accedo. This is our personal need, right? What we realize is that our customers, and this will not come as a surprise to you, but for the last probably 5 to 6 years, due to the transition out from the technology transformation, moving into the monetization transformation, where everyone needs to be more looking closer at the detail of how their service is actually functioning and performing, both from a technology and a business standpoint, what we realize is that most of our customers had invested massively into data, but in a very fragmented way. Some would have 5, 10 analytics vendors monitoring, bringing reports and intelligence in some way or form. And all part of this massive value chains where you would have the marketing team at our customers would have a certain set of analytics. The support team, the customer care team would have another. The operational team would have another, and so on. And what we realized is that there was no possibility to actually manage the platform per se, from your marketing, building your funnel into your service and attracting new users, to actually retaining and making sure that they don't leave because there is buffering, right? So all components, all KPIs of the video experience, not just related to pure technology or engineering, but also actually other data points, none of this was consolidated. And when we started to interact with New Relic about, okay, we wanted to have this overall dashboard for Accedo, we realized this was becoming actually a value proposition for our customers themselves, where we were looking at the 360 observability business case on how do you consolidate for all your competencies within your company to actually collaborate on top of data. And I must say, I mean, this is now, I'm not absolutely not being paid for making that video. I just want to reassure the audience. But the move that you made in Gen AI for observability, which is exactly addressing that particular pain point, right? Adaptability to different stakeholders in a company, being able to bring everyone that has different expertise onto one platform that sits on top of the data and can surface different metrics and different understanding and different analysis is amazing. It's spot on. So yeah, this was a bit of a selfish move on our side to be able to analyze our own software. And then rapidly we realized that this was actually also helping our customers.
Yeah, no, that's great, Bleuenn. Thank you for those details, and it makes a lot of sense. And it's very interesting how, first of all, using New Relic observability, it's a trend that we're seeing with other customers too, where there's disparate monitoring tools, for different reasons, right? Either marketing is using one, a different application owner is using a different one, but bringing that telemetry and insights together into one platform, the power of that is pretty staggering, right? And game changing. And you've done that and you've seen it. We've seen it with some other customers as well. But the other piece that you're doing with observability, which is very interesting, much more strategic view, right? Looking at the trends across your customer base and then using that to make strategic decisions as a company that Accedo can look at and say, what are we seeing across all of our customers? Are there things that we should change, adjust, add, omit, etc.? That's really interesting, and that to me that's music to my ears, because you're getting a lot of business value out of the platform, more than just a traditional, something is broken or we have a performance issue and it's MTTR or SLAs, which I'm sure you're already using those components to share those KPIs with customers, like you mentioned. But those trends in your business and across your customers, that's probably of great interest to you and the other executives at Accedo. And for us as a partner, that makes us feel good, right? That you're getting full value out of the platform. Bleuenn, another question, based on some of your your comments and your answers here around, the unforgiving nature of video. So there's peak events, right? Here in the U.S., we just had, Super Bowl, right? American football, big peak event. How do you prepare, manage, work those with your customers to make sure that their customers are having an optimal experience?
First of all, I'm not gonna claim that it always go well. I
Yeah,
mean,
right.
if
Yeah, it
only.
is technology after all, right?
Exactly. So, and I think this is a very important part of our strategy moving forward, which is that we truly believe in agile ops. The reason why I'm mentioning this is that you can prepare as much as you want, and there will be moments where you will have to react in production and learn from that. So, first of all, we equipped ourselves with people, right, and skills. So, having people that have had the experience out there running massive operations for very big media companies, being able to get that expertise in, because it's something that I don't think you can instrumentalize just yet, right? You need for someone to have felt the pain and actually went through that several times to be able to get the feeling of how do we prepare for this, first of all. I think that the other part is obviously that we are looking at trends in general for similar events, and looking at how should we prepare for it. So in terms of load testing and stress testing, I think one of the things that we recently learned, potentially painfully, is that there is no good enough preparation until you have broken the system. I think this is, to me, a aha moment, and maybe to all people that are working in operations, this is an evidence. But this wasn't something I actually knew by. For me, with my software hat on, it's all about scope. You build for flexibility, you anticipate, and so on. So you will be able to react. But the reality is that you need to make sure that you do create the stress that will break your system. And only there you can see where are the dependencies, where are your point of failures in terms of technology, in terms of integration, in terms of telemetry, in terms of all of this, right? So that's an advice to everyone. If you haven't done that, please do this. This is actually a key part. And I think that for us, we have obviously dozens of customers live at a time across the globe. And what we have seen, it was very important, is that we share knowledge, right? We try to, of course, use common architecture, best practices when in our blueprints, right? But obviously we are there to cater for the specifics as well of our customers. So we're not built as a siloed software that you can't touch and you can't change, right? So we need to live in a bit in the unknown. But every time that there is a learning, how do we bring that back to the overall organization? And I don't know actually to which point we will push that, but recently we were processing all the issues related to our platforms, our apps through AI to identify trends and patterns of commonalities. And this is where you start looking, and this was, as simple as getting all your Jira exported into a chat GPT engine, right? But eventually, what you need to look after is what has been pattern for failures. You know that certain technology are reacting differently depending on the ramp up time. You know that you can rely, for example, we're relying heavily on AWS and their support for ramping up important live events. So we're trying to surround ourselves to be prepared as much as possible. And of course, the important is to have a very reactive team and skilled team when something start to look a bit weird within your platform, and then be able to react. But we do prepare as much as we can, I would say, and based on our experience and of having done that multiple times, obviously.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, Bleuenn. And to your point, there's no substitution for experience, right? And those that have been in technology for a long time, we'll break things a few times, and then that's how we learn, and then you don't break it the next time, right?
Exactly.
And that's, you know, what the experience that you have in this field, you and the other people at Accedo that have worked in this industry, you know what it takes to prepare, you know what it takes day of event, and then you know what it takes to after the event or the peak event to look at it and say, okay, what could we have
Exactly.
done better, and then you learn from it. And what's next for Accedo? Bleuenn, what are some of the priorities, and where you're taking the organization, the company, and then how do you see New Relic fitting into that and helping you on that journey?
Where we're going is, as I said, right, we felt that the industry has needed great experts for a long time in media and entertainment. The expertise is still, of course, very much needed. We need to make sure that we can be more. And as I said, we want to become a business partner. We want to be the business partner for our customers. So how do we intend to become that? In some cases we are ready, in some cases we're not, and we need to make that more systemic for the customers that want to enter into that kind of partnership with us. And for that, we are following something that we've learned from other companies throughout the globe, which are to become outcome driven. So I'll explain very briefly what it means. It's basically that you're formulating your business objectives based on your customer's business. So every company has financial KPIs. Many companies have sustainability KPIs. I'm sure most of them have people KPIs. And then becoming outcome driven is that you would express that you want to help your customers achieve this. And by taking your customer's objective within your business plan, you're actually clarifying what is it that you are going to do to contribute to your customer's business success. So that's the first transformation. It's really clarifying, getting the overall organization for us to actually really trust we can not only make an impact, but having it tangibly articulated. And I think this is very important. We know we are a recognized vendor, I think, in the industry where we are evolving. So we know that we're probably doing something good, right? But the value, the business value, and how actually we drove that impact, New Relic can articulate that very clearly in some of the reports that you're sharing with your customers. I think that we need to become better at that. So we need to really set the bar and basically evaluate our business performance against our customers' business objective. So that's the first thing. We think that the biggest endeavor or the biggest mandate we can get is becoming a managed service provider for our customers, where we actually have full accountability for designing, building the platform, and actually operating and evolving it over time. I think when we were in a technology cycle within the industry, it was all about a VP platform that our customers would come and say, I want this technology and so on. Nowadays, it's okay, so what are you going to do to help me combat churn? What are you going to do to help me reduce my total cost of ownership? And this is, I don't mind the technology that you will choose, but I want to understand how this will affect my business. So I think this is really the transformation that we are in. This is what's now and next, I would say, in the coming 2 to 3 years. And that will come with technology investment, obviously. So the observability and having the capability to actually show the trend, interact with the data from different expertise. Again, this collaborative experience on top of the data needs to happen, not only for us internally, but also with our customer. So how do we make that becoming the normal blueprint for Accedo and our media customers? I think this is really where we are invested, and how the partnership with New Relic is so strategic for us.
Yeah, well, that's fantastic, Bleuenn. Thank you for sharing that. And yeah, you're hitting on another trend that I'm hearing from other customers as well, which sometimes it's called business observability, right? So taking all of these dashboards and reports, which traditionally were all about MTTR or MTTD, is something down, is the website down, etc., to more of what's the business impact of what we've done, right? How is this impacting your customers and your customers' business, because that's what's of interest to your executives. So that translation of kind of the technology to those business KPIs is something that we're seeing more and more in our customers asking for, and we're helping build some dashboards as I think we've done with you in the past as well. So that's great to hear, Bleuenn. So, what's the funnest part of your job? I mean, I think when I think about video, I mean, it's just a fun space to be in, right? Because it's there's so many different verticals and industries that you're touching with your service. What's the funnest part? You've been doing this for a while, but what's the funnest part of your job?
I've been very lucky to work very closely to the founders for the last 12 years, and I've worked with some of our very long timers throughout that journey. And Marcus Eidenberg, for example, who is owning our SaaS business area. And I think the funniest part of my job is probably being next to them and spending most of my recent life with them. I think that's probably it's actually yeah, I didn't know that Swedish sense of humor could be that great, but it is. But joke aside, I think it's also linked to the second part, I think, which is the amount of opportunities. So because I've worked with leaders that are very visionary and constant still about what is this industry, where it should go, how do we look at the disruption, and we've been through, since I've been there, at least two industry transformation. I think the amount of opportunities is quite thriving. I don't know if it's funny, but in 2019 we created this new business case for us to become the most sustainable vendor in the media and entertainment industry. We have grown a team in there. We have developed thought leadership. We're working again through observability on assessing how sustainable our customers' video services. This kind of opportunity, I don't know if I would have been able to touch that many things through another software company, and I think this is what makes it so exciting to be part of this industry that matters, because it matters to consumers that are consuming video globally, everywhere, at all layers of the society, at all age, in all geographics. It's obviously the strive of accomplishing great things, but yeah, definitely the fun part remains with the people, I think.
Yeah, no, and you say you don't know if others would think that that's fun. I completely agree, and I appreciate that. Right, one, being around visionaries like your founders that are also really smart people. That's just fun. That's part of what attracted me to New Relic. Honestly, as well, there's a lot of really smart visionary people here that I learn from every day, and I think that's what you're calling out. And then the impact that you've made, right, and this evolving, video service OTT space. It's growing, it's evolving, and being a part of that with Accedo, I think that does make it fun, right? And you have to have fun at work because you and I both spend so many hours and days and weekends working. If you're not having fun, we got to go find something else to do. I would say. So, Bleuenn, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you again for making the time to meet with me, and most importantly, thank you for the partnership, Accedo and New Relic. I'm super excited about what you're doing, and I think what we will be doing together with a lot of our mutual customers. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. It was a real pleasure to meet you and discuss what's coming next with New Relic. So very excited about this partnership as well.
Yeah, next time we'll meet in Stockholm.
Sounds good.